Hello everybody, it's me again. Welcome to the signal box today. So glad you're with me, wherever you're watching from, and a big shout out to all my regular subscribers and viewers. Okay, before we crack on with today's video, there's been a couple of changes on the layout in terms of operational changes to the layout, and I'll just show you what I've done. Well, recently, actually last night, I began dismantling some old furniture that's out for recycling and just throwing away. But before I threw it away, I thought, what can I do with a couple of bits that are really sort of not bad? So I beefed up my control shelf. So first of all, I've added a little front panel there, as you can see, with some recycled furniture parts, but it does the job. I've screwed and bolted and washers either side with some wing nuts to hold that shelf in place. That there is now the most important part of the control shelf. It houses the all-important mug of tea. So we can put a mug of tea on there, we can put my phone on there, or I can put screwdrivers, little tools, bits I'm doing. That comes in very handy. But these legs I've knocked up myself, and I think they're not too bad. There we go. As you can see, like an angle joint formation, and I've got two of those, one each side. I'll come around that side. You can see a little bit around there. There you go. And this thing weighs an absolute ton now. I'm a glutton for punishment because I just like building solid things. So yeah, there we go. So there's my sturdy control shelf now, and it stands on its own 2 feet. Literally, it doesn't need to rest on these two tables. It can stand up by itself. But I just thought it's more solid. I wasn't too happy with the previous pair of legs that I knocked up, and I think this is much better, and it's much more strong. So I can put a mug of tea on there. Most important thing. Yeah. So, should we come and have a look at the new station, shall we? Okay, I might need to just dim the lights a little bit so you can see this. But let's come over here with the camera. There we go. How about that? And the lights are already on, as you can see. They're not too bright because you don't want them like football sort of pitch floodlight sort of style lights. Just want them enough to illuminate inside, enough luminescent power, just to give an impression of internal lights. So very happy with that. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just turn my little lamp on my shelf off, my little shelf lamp off, and then there we go. Now you can see it a little bit better maybe. If you really want to see it, I'd have to draw the curtains, but I'm not going to do that. But yeah, that looks really nice. I'll take you over here with the camera so we can have another little look. Yeah, very happy with that. I'll do kind of a helicopter shot as best I can. There we go. I think what I'll do, I mean, I most probably can do this at some point, but the next time I set the railway up on the tables, I'll try and have the baseboard facing the other way, so it's sort of rectangle rather than this way. So the station's on this side, so at least you'll be able to get a view of the station a bit more. Maybe I could do that, I don't know. It's easy enough to do, but it's just a little bit of an awkward operational thing to do because everything control side is this side. Anyway, I think it looks quite nice, so I'm happy with that. Just before we get some trains running, I will give you a little bit of a heads up. Normally in my previous videos, you guys, if you're quite familiar to my videos, you'll notice there used to be a green footbridge, an old day pole. Well, it wasn't Daypol. It was actually originally an Airfix, but Daypol took over Airfix years ago. But this thing here, this footbridge that I made many moons ago and sprayed in Malachite Southern Railway green, that unfortunately is surplus to requirements now, because it will not fit over there, because of when I installed the station the other night and glued it all down and everything and dropped the wires through for the lights. It's all secured in place. But I did leave a little bit on sort of this area for a footbridge. But what I found out was that footbridge is slightly too wide, so it won't fit in that place. So what I've got to do is buy a footbridge kit. I've seen one online, a really nice, I think it's like that recycled chipboard material they call not PCB board. It's like a chipboard material, but it's incredibly strong and really good for modelling when it's laser cut into parts. Well, you can buy this laser cut kit of a footbridge, and I've seen it on eBay, I think, or Amazon, one of the two, for about 25 quid. And it comes pre-coloured, so you haven't got to paint it, and it just says all you need to do is put strong PVA glue and tweezers to put it together. Well, that does me. So I think what I'm going to do is grab myself one of them, pre-measure the distance from platform to platform, and then accordingly cut and shut and put it on there, have a new footbridge. Well, it's got to be done, I think. New station building, new footbridge, so I think that's the way we're going to go. But that little Airfix footbridge, or the Daypol one, it's surplus to requirements at the moment, so I've got nowhere else to put it. So at the moment we've got no footbridge, but everything comes to those who wait, and the joys of this hobby is you do things one at a time. So anyway, that's something I'm going to do for another day. But in the meantime, we've got the main station building in, and it looks absolutely stunning. I'm very pleased with that. Those Metcalf kits are really nice. That's a better shot there, look at that. Yeah. That looks lovely. See, it's the same company, Metcalf, who manufacture these buildings, like this brewery kit I had made for me as well. The building at the back, a large store building with the beer barrels, that was already made by someone else on eBay. But the actual factory and the boiler unit with the chimney, that was privately made for me. And it's a lovely thing. And well, if it's done right, these are nice buildings. But like I said to you in the previous video, I am not a card kit modeler. I'd have to start off with something really silly, like a P-Way hut or something like that to begin with, and then progress the building up to something like that. But that's a really cracking little building. It looks just a treat on there. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll come around the control side and I'll flick the lights off so you can see the difference with the lights off. Hang on. There we go. So the way I've wired it up in such a way is that they're all wired, the lights are wired into the station platform lamps on the same circuit. And even though it's a 12 volt LED, I wasn't taking any chances, and I bunged a resistor on the end of the wire that goes into the feed, so that it's dropping the voltage ever so slightly, and it also just protects it a bit. Even though it's designed for 12 volts and it's running at 12 volts through a power pack supply, it just gives it a little bit of more added voltage drop, so it prolongs the life of it. But yeah, very good. It's a shame the little toilet block on the end doesn't light up, but then that's prototypical. But that looks really good. Lovely. Right, enough of that, and let's run some trains. So let's put the little lamp on my shelf again, so we can illuminate the situation. What have we got on shed today? Ah, look, we've got that Lord Nelson simmering away on shed there. I think that will have to go out on the service very shortly. It's been coaled up, it's got water, the fire has been cleaned, and I think it's time to get that out on service. We'll also get the spam cam running as well in a little bit. Okay, go and grab yourself a beverage of your choice. I'm going to go and make a quick brew, and I'll be back soon. Okay, so we're just waiting that service to leave the station. It's already in the platform over there. So this is just a little bit of a smaller scale on what the Lord Nelsons used to do back in the day on the southern region, out of London Waterloo down to Weymouth. Normally about 13 on, sometimes normally 12, 13 on. This is obviously a bit more scaled down. I've only got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on, including the luggage coach. So let's have a look, shall we? I'm sure you'll enjoy this. So on the rear of the train, the last two coaches, they're steel bodied bullied coaches, which are a bit different. They've got these at the Swanage Railway. But that Lord Nelson is really something else, isn't it? What a lovely engine, look at that. Now, sadly, the only thing I had to do with this particular engine is, I'll just bring it to a stop on the level crossing. Special stop orders. Right, the only thing I had to remove from this engine, sadly, I fitted it with the super detail pack. The cylinder drain cocks that go underneath the cylinders on the front there, luckily I didn't super glue them. They were quite a nice press fit friction wise, so I didn't need to use glue. I just pressed them into place in little holes and they stayed there of their own power. But I realised that obviously because I've got quite tight curves on my railway, like I've got second radius curves and in some places first radius curves, I noticed straight away before the video began derailments. I also removed the front steps from just underneath the front of the buffer end of the loco. There's some steps that I fitted. Again, super detail pack, you can fit those. And I realised again it was interfering with the lead driving wheel, the lead pony truck wheel, the front pony wheel. And to be honest with you, when I fitted them up as a dry fit without gluing them in place, I thought, that's a bit of a silly design, because you can see they're miles too big for it to navigate the swivel feature of the bogie, which is supposed to do when it goes around your curves and your track. So I thought, okay, that's a little bit of a silly design feature, because it's going to obviously not allow those front wheels to move. So what I done, I just took them off. One came off nice and complete, the other one has left a tiny bit of plastic, but it doesn't even notice. So I've put them safely back in the accessories bag with the cylinder drain cocks as mentioned, and I'll keep them there for another day. But I think those front steps definitely will be left off permanently. I think the idea what Hornby do these days is they like to add super detail to their locomotives like these, so that you have the option of fitting every single thing in the pack. So it's on static display in your cabinet at home or on a shelf. And these things, I'm sorry to say, I've said it before, these things are designed to be played with, to be run. They're not designed to be static models. So why they keep adding these features that don't do anything when you can't run them on your track, unless you're lucky enough to have flexi track and you've got really gentle transition curves on your railway. Even so, to me, they create a hazard for derailments. But anyway, they're in the bag, no harm done. So just wanted to bring that to the attention of everybody. Also, something else that there's a few people that will follow my channel and videos, and I know they'll be jumping for joy in their armchairs, that I've removed my block bell instrument apparatus that used to sit on there, my self-made little tapper and my little 12-volt bell that I used to tap out all the bell codes to the videos of the signalling diagrams. When I was doing an overhaul and rebuild of this last night, I found out this solenoid that works this bell wasn't working properly. I tried to fix it, but it was broken. Also, the tapper was falling to pieces. So I thought, you know what, I'll take the whole lot out and I'll come up with something better. What I'd like to get to go here, it's probably between, I think, anywhere between 260 to 350 pounds. Second hand, that's the cheapest you can probably get, is a genuine block bell instrument in its cabinet with the tapper and the line clear train on line description. That would be lovely, but those are so expensive. But yeah, that's the sort of thing I'd like, with the brass bell on there. That would be nice, but until such times I've removed it, so there we are. But those of you out there will be jumping for joy in your armchairs, spilling your cups of tea all over you because you're ecstatic. Oh, he's going to run some trains now, and there's not those horrid bells in the background. He just keep ding 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 ding. Well, there we are, rant over. Let's run the train, shall we? Yeah, I think an engine like this Lord Nelson, probably agree with me at home that it needs a footplate crew. It needs a nice footplate crew. So I think I'm going to source the Bachmann one, which is ideal. I think I'll get that and get round to getting a set of crew for that. So you need a fireman, preferably Bert Hooker. And the driver would be Ted Dawson, or none other than himself, Mr. Clive Groom. It's got to be a Nine Elms crew, hasn't it? See, that's the way I look at it. I know they're only in miniature engines, but it's a Southern Region engine. It's a Nine Elms engine. So it was at Nine Elms for a while, these Lord Nelsons. The rest of the time they were Eastleigh, Basingstoke Shed. But you need a Southern Region crew for a Southern engine, just like you got Stratford crews for Stratford engines. You've got to have Eastern Region crews for Eastern Region engines and Southern Region crews for Southern engines. Unless you're like the late Clive Groom, who actually, on his days off, he used to go and fire other people's engines in different regions. That's amazing. What a legend. But yep, she's doing well today, that Lord Nelson. That is my little birthday present from my mummy, who's watching. to mark the big occasion in 2 weeks' time. So that was my little prezi to myself from my mum when I went down to the Swanage Railway. And I did see that in there. I wasn't going to buy it, but I thought, no, I haven't got one of those. And it'd be my little reminder of my day out as well. But she's lovely. Very, very nice. Oh yeah, in terms of the resin, you notice my canal feature here. Luckily it hasn't shifted anymore with the blinking heat waves we've been having this summer so far, but it hasn't moved, which is a good thing. But what I was thinking about doing, I looked up online, and apparently if you go to like an artist shop, proper arts and crafts shop, they do the big like gallon containers of proper resin that's already mixed up. You just pour it, I think, or you add the agent to it and you mix it up in a pot and you pour it. It takes about 2 to 3 days. I'd give it about 4 days to cure, but it dries like glass. It's rock hard stuff. It really is brilliant. The sort of things they put on tables and artwork and kitchen counters and floors to simulate marble. It really is very good stuff, but you've got to let it dry at least 4 days. I'm thinking that's the only other solution to pour on top of this, and certainly that bit, to sort that out. But again, it's taking all this underneath off and breaking the seal, and unfortunately my layout cannot be left upright for more than 24 hours because it has to put it all away and it has to go to bed. That's why my layout is called Little Beddington, because it sits over my bed. Get it? Oh, the things we do for a hobby. Anyway, I think it's okay. I think I'll leave that as it is, to be honest with you. Okay, I've just paused everything momentarily again. Passengers will be fuming. I didn't get to show you this on my last video of this being unboxed, but now I've got plenty of light above us. I just wanted to show you the cab, the detail on this thing. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Very nice and tidy, that cab, for a Lord Nelson, and everything is on there that it should be. So that type of engine, to me, definitely deserves a loco crew. And we've got the little tip-up seats there for the driver on the left, on the right the fireman. So I think we'll have to have definitely a Southern Region crew on there. We'll have to sort that out and source that. I've given it the beans just a little bit, not too much, but love the sound of those coaches going over my jointed track as well. They look superb. Oh dear. What's that old saying? It don't rain, it bloody pours. So, here we are again. That infamous eBay story. So, what I thought was a decent engine. I've just struggled to run this on my layout. And I wasn't even going to video the footage because it was appalling. It was really jerky. Despite that I've cleaned these wheels up the best I can. I've given the motor a proper clean and service. The pickups I've done, it just is, I think it's, if the only thing I can think of motor-wise, performance-wise, there's two things I mentioned before with the XO4 motors. There's only two things that would hinder the performance of an XO4 Hornby motor despite cleaning and lubrication, and they are: number one, the magnet; number two, the coils need rewinding, or there's a fault with the coils. That's not really the issue. The issue is this: I run this round and this engine threw a leg out of bed, which is a railwayman's term of the com rods coming out of their casing and flying off or breaking. And this is exactly what this has done. I've just actually, luckily I've got a long stick with a magnet on the end, because I had to salvage around my layout and do a track inspection to find out where this was, where the piston was, where the washer was, where the screw was. And as you can see, these things are not exactly large. I mean, but I'm thinking either that thread has been stripped, or it's not, it's added, or worse still, I'm thinking that don't look too good in there. Quite possibly the thread is stripped inside there. And the only thing you can do with that, unfortunately, with these type of chassis, these XO4 motor chassis on these Battle of Britons, the only other solution you can do, if you can't source a replacement gear wheel, the only other expensive option is to buy a complete Battle of Britain XO4 motor chassis, and they run about anywhere between 48 to 50 quid on eBay. And I paid what, £33 and a couple of quid postage, so I mean, it doesn't justify that. So I don't know, I'm rather furious because I wanted this to run today and show you guys, but it is a really bad runner. And again, the eBay seller said that it's been tested and it runs in both directions. He didn't state it runs, you know, crap. And as you can tell, I'm just a little bit furious because I know how to service these things. I know how to service model railway locomotives, and I know these wheels are possibly the best I could get them. The back edges on this side camera facing have been cleaned because that's the pickup side. I'm not sure if it's got anything to do with how I've wired it up without the suppressor, but the fact that it's making a circuit and it moves, that, and there's no shorts, that tells me straight away that it should work. But it's just very hesitant. The motor is not really the greatest thing. And I also noticed, I did a test run off camera, and this absolutely struggled to pull 5 Bachmann coaches, which included, the 5th coach was a Hornby Southern Region luggage van. That's a relatively light rake. As you can see, that Lord Nelson had no problems with that. But this thing was slipping, it wouldn't pull it, and I don't know. It's an old model, so I'm a little bit cheesed off about that. I think that's one of the reasons why I think if you can afford to get one and you can spend just under £100 to fork out and get the up-to-date Hornby Loco Drive model, which is a bit nicer. But anyway, I'll try and have a look at what I can do with that. But I was so looking forward to sharing this with you and showing you it running. But unfortunately it's let me down, and I don't know what else to do with this, but there we go. Okay, here's something interesting I've just found. I've just obviously managed to pop that centre wheel off that lug which houses the driving wheel there, and interestingly enough, these are cast wheels, because on the back it's like a large digital cell battery, which is a little bit nasty. But anyway, if I look at that, or you can see that closely there, it does look like that's there's a little threaded seated lug that sits in there that's got a thread that corresponds with that little pin there. That little pin, as you can see, it's got a thread which corresponds with female lug that sits in there, and obviously that fits up. It's either worn away or it's come out. and I can't determine where that's gone. And I'm guessing that, whoops, I'm guessing that that's why, quite possibly, it was sold again for £33 on eBay. I really am getting sick and tired, to be honest, of buying things on eBay these days that people do not genuinely are honest and open, or even better still, do a little video clip of it running on a rolling road or on your layout or up and down on a bit of track. At least you can see that it works, you can hear it running, you can see it running for yourself, rather than you not describe it. Anyone can put down on the description, oh, it runs in both directions. But what they don't tell you about is little snags like this. Now, as far as I'm aware, nothing's dropped off from the moment I've had it about a day or two ago to today. So I don't know, but this thing is not right, and I'm going to have to source a replacement wheel for this, or I might have to get a complete new chassis. I don't really want to do that. That's more money and expense I don't want to do. But it's not really going well today for me, unfortunately. Anyway, I think what I'll do, I'll just reassemble this as best I can and see what we can do with it. But that wheel is completely kabuggered. There's nothing else I can describe as that wheel. As you can see, it's too shiny for my liking. And it's funny, when I actually took this apart the other day to give it a service and clean, I took these con rods off to give them a clean with some lighter fluid and polish them up. And I took that apart and I thought, that's a little bit too shiny for that area. It shouldn't be that colour. It looks something that doesn't look right. But anyway, I put it back together and it seemed to go back together. But I think what had happened is that the thread inside of the little lug has just worn out. There we are. And it's designed in such a way that you can't super glue that little pin back in there, because it has to rotate, or it has to bite onto something. And if you start super gluing things like that, it just goes from bad to worse and you're digging yourself a deeper hole. So for all intensive purposes, what my remedy with this would be is to either source a centre gear wheel with the pin thread inside still. That's one option, or the other option is to get a completely new chassis, which has got the TV suppressor unit, which is not on the back there. As you can see, my green wire and has just basically re-hardwired it. And also, rather cheekily, as I mentioned in the last video, the person who sold this didn't mention 1 ounce that it'd been fitted with a 01 chip and it was running on a 01 system. Again, why don't you just take the body off and show people? Take photos. Again, I mean, I sold an old Hornby Midland 3F tender engine on eBay recently, right? It was a dead engine, as in it was static. It wasn't a run, I had no motor in it. It was just the body and the chassis of the tender and the loco, and it was a freewheeling item that you could physically push it, and it had no motor in. All it needed was a motor. I sold it as spares and repairs. I described it, I sent pictures of it left, right and centre. So at least I was honest. But not everyone's always blinking honest. Oh well. No, that's not how I'd like it. So that, I'm sorry to say, is not a great chassis. Yeah, exactly, that's what I think of that, in so many polite words. So I'm going to have to, they do one of the, I think Peter Spares might do one of these. but I'm going to put it in the box for another day. That was it. That's what I was thinking of. That Bachmann standard 4MT tank that I was telling you about a while ago that had quite a few problems with it. Again, the seller advertises it as in excellent mint condition, running order, but it's another one. Again, this is the things of it. Now, the other day I bought that Panya tank, and that green one runs really well. I'm going to run that in a minute. But this, unfortunately, just needs a little bit. This is a project for another day, I think. So, to be quite honest with you, because it hasn't got the TV suppressor unit at the back there, and it's not really, I've wired it up as how it should work, but it's not ideal. I think the best thing I'll tell you what I'm going to do. This is just my surmisation. Let me know what you think. The actual motor, it does run. It's okay because I serviced it and I did test it, but chassis wise it's not running as it should be. I basically could just get another X04 Battle of Britain chassis, keep that motor and keep everything on this as spares, and just get a donor chassis and see how we do with that. But that's the price you pay with these old Hornby Margate X04 motors. I mean, the modern stuff is much more nicer, but I mean, these are okay. They're quite a nice thing if you clean them up and do them. But I mean, as we've just shown today, that centre bushing that fits that little crank pin is gone, or it's just worn away, or it's just disintegrated. It's not in there. That's why we're having problems, and that motor is not liking it too much. Oh dear. Well, there we go. Another paperweight added to the collection. I wonder how many more paperweights I'm going to buy on eBay before I stop buying things. I don't know. Do you know what? I think these particular Margate made models, they're actually better with the tender drives. But I'll tell you what, don't knock tender drive locos. I prefer tender drives, to be honest, because they're a lot less hassle and they're more easy to maintain. Providing you keep the motor lubricated and clean and do the general maintenance on those things, and the traction tyres, I mean, they're not bad. But I mean, these X04 motors, they're okay if you get a good one, but there's an awful lot of maintenance to them. And also, for example, if you've got to remagnetise the magnet, those Neo magnets that you can send away for, they're often too powerful for those X04 motors, and they drag too much. So I think the Ronald Dodd magnetising super duper machine on eBay, I think they're about just under 200 quid, about 150, 160 pounds, something like that, maybe even 199. They're not exactly cheap, and I can't justify buying one of those things just for maybe 2 locos. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to either try and source another centre wheel with the crank pin thread inside, or at some point I'll try and get a replacement chassis. Anyway, the story of the paperweights continues. Okay, so the only thing I can say is I do apologise for that. Unfortunately, that Battle of Britain class, I was really looking forward to running that, and that was such a treat to get that in the post the other day and unbox and show you guys, and I was so hoping to get it going on the layout today, and obviously it wasn't to be. Anyway, I can only but try and redeem myself with the next one. Do you remember this I bought a few days ago, or last week, week before? This little open cab Panya in Great Western Green. That's got an X04 motor in it, as you can hear. This one isn't too bad though. And I've managed to get these off the top of the wardrobe, these coaches. I haven't run these for years, well, not a long time. I've run them not too long ago, but it seems like years since I've run these. I don't normally get these out, but these are the correct collet coaches for this engine. I've got it on brake simulator at the moment, so if I just shut it off about that point there, you see how she brakes and stops, probably quite rapidly because it's an XO4 motor. They like a lot of juice, as you can hear. Right, I'll take it off the brake and I'll drive it manually. They're so noisy though, aren't they, these XO4 motors? Proper growlers. I don't like growly motors. Now this has been oiled and serviced to Kingdom Come and it's still a growly thing. It's just those XO4 motors, the nature of the beast with these things. You can understand why Hornby moved away from these and they got the coreless motors involved from China. In some respects that was a better move. I mean, these things are okay, they're right from a vintage point, and I don't mind the XO4 motors. I've got another couple of locos with these in, but they are a little bit of a mare to service and clean if they play up and you do all you can with them correctly. And it's a thing like the magnet or the coils or any of those two factors where you've got to invest money. I mean, to me, I'll say this quickly before we get the next thing running. I always find in this hobby of ours, this wonderful hobby of model railways, the idea is to try and save money, to try and spend as less money where possible, unless you're going to fork out for a brand new loco, like that, £225 worth of engine over there, which you can justify because it's a nice model. It's detailed, it runs beautifully, and it's got all the whistles and bells on it, no puns intended, but that's what you pay for. And obviously something like this you don't want to spend an awful lot of money on if you can help it. You know the pitfalls of these things, you know they're going to be problematic, and especially if it's got an XO4 motor in it, you know that there could be lots of things wrong with that. So you take it on board as it is, and it just becomes a little bit of an interest to maintain and something to do and tinker with. And 9 times out of 10 you can get them going and they aren't too bad. This is not too bad a runner. But having said that, it's like you will notice on eBay, if you go on eBay like me quite a lot and surf around in the wee small hours on there and see what's up on auction or up for grabs, you'll see a lot of old Hornby Margate made models, tender drive models especially, that are sort of relatively cheap as chips. And there's a reason for that. It's because those ring-filled motors in the tender, unless you know how to maintain them and get them to a tip-top standard, they're a little bit problematic. But the XO4 motors, they're the cheapest ones you can buy. They're not that expensive to buy Hornby locomotives with XO4 motors in, because they are a little bit of a problem sometimes. Anyway, having said that, I'm going to stop this just for now, and I'll come back to you in a bit with something else. There you go, here comes another growler. This has got an XO4 motor in it, as you can hear. This is the Hornby King Arthur class at Dinadan. This one's actually not a bad runner, but I thought I'd have to put a Southern engine on a rake of Southern bullied coaches. It wouldn't be right, even though it's a Maunsell engine, not a bullied engine. All the same. It's starting to get a little bit dark outside, not much, but I'm just wondering if we can pick up those station lights. So yeah, I can a little bit over there. I think probably out of all my XO4 motor locos, this is probably about the best that runs relatively sweet. he says. Just didn't like those install frog points. Again, because this is a loco that has only got pickups on the loco, it hasn't got on the tender, like what most normal modern day tender engines have got pickups on the tender these days. But see, that was okay through there, wasn't it? This particular engine, I did a review on this particular loco, Sedinadan. The box, as you can see, is quite nice. But this has always got an infamous reputation with die-hard railway model collectors and runners, because this is a little bit of a, I shouldn't say it too loudly because he might get offended when he hears it going round, but it's got the name tag of the Frankenstein engine, because this is allegedly the locomotive that Hornby couldn't work out what they were going to bring out, and they looked in the spares box and found a load of bits from Triang locos and put it all together and made this. It's got its heritage well deep in Triang, with the tender, the wheel sets, the very crude slide bar arrangement on there. It's supposed to be a King Arthur class, but it doesn't resemble a King Arthur class that much, but it's sort of passable. It's still not a bad looker for a 70-year-old model. Anyway, it done the job for today, pulling that rake of Southern coaches. It looks the part, I think. That don't look too shabby, does it? Anyway, I think that's it. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to bring that into the station over there and see if I can get any more illumination out of those lights from the natural light outside and what I've got here. We'll put that about there. Now, let's see what we've got. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm not sure if I can do this or not, but I'll just draw my blinds in here and see if that makes any difference. See what we can do. Oh, yeah, it does a little bit. That's quite nice. Well, with that little illuminated shot there, I will say ta-ta for now. And I'll try and get the baseboard turned around a different way next time so you can see that station a bit better. I'll probably have it facing this way, so the baseboard is going that way. It can be done, it's just a little bit awkward where to put the controller and the shelf. That's the only bit, but anyway, if I can't, I can't, but anyway. But other than that, it does look okay. So I think what I'm going to do, my next project is, over the next coming month in September, I'm going to sort out that Battle of Britain, even though the West Countries do look like that. I've got Blackmore Vale, which is a lovely West Country spam can, and that is a beautiful runner, silky smooth, a modern sort of mid-2000 model, so it's made in China and it's much more smoother and it's nicer. So the the Battle of Britain paperweight, as I like to call it, I think what I'll do, I'll look into that and we'll get that running but it's going to have to be sort of a way up investment time, I think, because it's going to have to be justified. Well, do I spend that amount of money on something that possibly, because of its age, is not going to get any better? Like I said, that's a 70-year-old model, that one there, Squadron, roughly 70 years old, and as you can see, that runs about possibly the best you can get out of an XI4 motor, Hornby Loco. I tell you, I've got a nicer engine. I've got an LMS 4P Fowler tank engine, the one in LMS, and that's got an XO4 motor in it, and that runs pretty nice. A little bit noisy, because these things are just noisy no matter how much you try and loop them up. It's just the nature of the thing, but that runs pretty decent. But for some reason, that Battle of Britain class is, I think there's more to it than meets the eye. And again, it just really peeves me off that people, and I keep going on about it in the video today, but it's just upset me and irated me again. People, and if there's anybody out there watching this video and obviously you've got a YouTube account because you're watching this, you're watching my video, but if you've got an eBay account and you are selling, or you're one of the people that sell model railway locomotives on eBay, and you're hearing my voice and watching my video today and you're listening to what I'm saying, please do a little video of your item running. It does speak volumes if someone can see and hear something running, just a 10-second clip up and down a piece of track, or even round your layout even. But if you describe accurately something, you can go to bed of a night and sleep soundly. But if you're not, I don't know how you can sleep in your bed of a night when you sell people that generally pay money for something and it's not accurately described. I mean, the thing had a 01 chip inside. That wasn't mentioned. The TV suppressor unit was missing. That wasn't mentioned. And there was the issue with the centre gear wheel crank pin sleeve missing. That wasn't mentioned. So many things, and you know, in respect to the person, he said that it belonged to his late father, and obviously he was selling up his dad's model railway stuff. I mean, obviously, I don't wish anybody ill that's lost someone. It's always not very nice when you lose a loved one. I get that, but if you're going to sell something, regardless, be honest. Tell the truth. It does make so much difference when people like myself, or you guys out there, you go and buy something and you get exactly what you paid for. Anyway, I will stop ranting now. I've got some furniture to assemble, so I'm going to have to cut this video short. And I will see you in the next one, but I'll leave you with this little helicopter shot of the station there. And I shall see you soon in the next video. You take care of yourselves, and thanks for watching. Bye bye now.